This is the Throstle Club with Norman Bartlam and Bob Downing. Many people will have seen the blue plaque, Bob, on the wall of by the Tony Brown statue at the Hawthorns, and that records the death of Harold Bache, who was one of the Albion players who died in 1916.
Yeah, it was interesting really because I was reading a very good book by Simon Wright, Cult Heroes. It was about West Brom. And there's quite a big essay on Bache, and you realise, that had it not been for World War One, and he'd have remained at the Albion, he could have been one of the greats ever.
Yeah.
He was. I mean, I can only reflect now on what they were saying in 1912, 1913. If anybody out there remembers the crossfield passes that Bobby Hope used to do in the 60s and marvel at those and the accuracy of those, this bloke was doing it then. And it was nice really because there's a lot of newspaper reports from the Midland Chronicle and the Free Press, which were two different newspapers. Now, when I started in journalism, I started with the Midland Chronicle and Free Press because they joined together then. And to see, what they were saying about this guy. I mean, he was an amateur. And it was really interesting that they seemed to... They used to have like a recruitment drive at the Albion and signing up players for the First World War.
Blimey.
Yeah, it was his personality that helped to get people to sign up. Because again, after he'd signed up, he went back to the Albion, helping with the South Staffordshire Regiment.
Oh, right.
And they had campaigns there, and because he was there, people thought, he's doing it, we'll do it. And it helped to encourage people to sign up. And funny you should mention Simon's book, The Cult Heroes, because I've been to see him. Because he has written this chapter about Bache, and this is what he had to say. And also on this clip is Alison Wheatley, who's the archivist at King Edward's School, and that was the establishment where young Harold Bache was there as a pupil at school. I'm in the Worcestershire village of Churchill, where Bache was born in April 1889, and is remembered here on the War Memorial in the centre of the village. So Harold played 14 times for West Bromwich Albion, that's all. And he was also an amateur, wasn't he, Simon? So why did people think he was going to be such a success?
I think because he was an outstanding footballer. It's hard to make comparisons with modern day players, but if you like, perhaps Silver of Manchester City. Small, very quick, very intelligent, very unselfish, if I can use that word. He was far happier setting up goals for other people rather than scoring them himself. And, he was just a clever player who could spot a pass far better than anybody around him.
Bache is remembered at his former school, King Edward's in Edgbaston.
Harold Bache was admitted to King Edward's School in 1898 and left in 1908. So he was here for 10 years, which was quite a long time. And we have lots of records in our archive telling us the story of Harold Bache's school days. I think we all know that he was an excellent and very talented sportsman, and our records confirm that. We know that he played rugby to a very high standard. He was an athlete, an all-round athlete. He played fives and cricket. And, of course, we know that he later went on to represent the county at cricket and played for West Bromwich Albion on the football field. But we also know that he was very well respected by his peers. He was, I think, what we would call an all-round good egg. He was a boy of great character, the school magazines tell us. So he was a real gentleman, is what the records lead us to believe. When Harold left school in 1908, he went up to Cambridge, where he was captain of the cricket and football teams, and of course a Cambridge Blue. So his sporting career continued long after his time at King Edward's School.
He made his debut in February 1914 at Villa Park in the FA Cup. the local press commenting that he brightened up the Albion attack considerably and he possessed the happy knack of getting the best out of his forward colleagues. The Sports Argus reports always made interesting reading. It was reported that the amateur was fast and tricky and occasioned much trouble to United by his speed and subtlety of movement. Later he scored against the Villa in a 3-2 win in the final of the Lord Mayor of Birmingham's Charity Cup. HG immediately caught the eye, the press commenting that a feature of the game was the brilliant play of Harold Bache and his control of the ball was wonderful. Later that month, the press reported that Harold had joined the forces. It was noted that supporters are patriotic and HG will have the best wishes of all Midland sportsmen. He trained with the Lincolnshire Regiment in Grimsby, but moved back home to help with recruitment in Staffordshire, prompting the press to note that his new position will enable him to maintain his connection with the Albion. This is the best bit of news heard in a day in Throstledom. In January 1916, at Middlesbrough, he scored the only goal of the game in what was to be his last league appearance for the club. The Sports Argus said it was an awesome performance from Bache, Albion's military centre-forward. The Athletic News reported, whilst running at right angles to the posts, Bache suddenly checked the ball and shot with electrifying vigour into the net. It was one of the most brilliantly taken goals that this writer has ever seen, and the occupants of the stand sprang from their seats and gave the military footballer an ovation. That's a great insight there, I think, into the character of Harold Bache. Now, I've been to the place where he was killed during a bloody battle in 1916. It's an area that's called the Bluff, near Ypres in Belgium.
The whole of this area was extensively shelled, and there were numerous potholes and shell holes similar to this all around the ridge. The highest part of the ridge across here is called the Bluff, and this is where Harold Bache met his death. His commanding officer wrote a letter to his mother saying that he'd been shot by a sniper and that he had died very happily and instantaneously. But one of his pals, Lieutenant Barrett, wrote that his death was instantaneous, but he added to his parents that I won't worry you with the details of his last doings. In 1931, when West Bromwich Albion beat Birmingham City in the FA Cup final at Wembley, the players stopped off en route to Wembley at the Cenotaph in central London, and there they laid a wreath in memory not just of Bache, but of other sporting giants who didn't return from the Great War.
Harold Bache's body was never found. He has no known grave, so his name is commemorated here in Ypres at the Menin Gate, where his name is one of 57,000 names of people who have no known grave. And every single day of the year, these people are commemorated with a service at 8 o'clock. This is the Throstle Club with Norman Bartlam and Bob Downing.